just a quick recording to show how I bleach my knots. I have some bleach here with some 30 developer. As a matter of fact, let me show you what all I used. I use this type of bleaching powder with a 30 developer every time I bleach knots on my laces or on my customers' laces because it does it at the best speed but also protects the hair. It looks a little pink because I added in some purple dye just to offset the brassiness on the knots. Like sometimes you see girls' hair, it looks a little orangey where they have bleached the knots. That's just because they didn't tone them with some type of purple shade to be able to take all that brassiness away. I got this pretty thick. I'm just kind of rushing through because I gotta work and I have to make sure this is done for my clients. But you make it pretty thick. You put it on like a spread, sort of. It'll feel sort of peanut butter-like. You're not gonna wanna press through the lace. It is very thin material. So you wanna make sure that you are not pressing through it because you do not want your roots to be very yellow. They can be corrected with the color corrector, but you do not want to have to go through that step if you don't have to. So you want to try to make it very thick, like a thick custard or pudding of some sort, even a little thicker than how perm would maybe be. And then you want to just spread it over all the knots. Typically you want to use gloves, but like I said, I've been doing this and I'm a little bit in a rush, so I really don't have time to use gloves. Just want to make a quick video to show you guys how I go about this process. This lace right now kind of has a few loose strands on the inside of it, so you don't have to worry that's not getting on the actual outside lace. That's a couple of loose strands inside that you see me keep grabbing away. Okay, so this one's turned upwards a little bit, so let's get it back down. Just going over a couple of areas that I missed. I'm gonna let that sit on there. I'm gonna fold it into some foil and let it sit there for about 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. I do set a timer. And then once I'm complete with that, I'll go ahead and rinse it out to show you some additional steps on what I do with the bleaching knots. So now that I have that pretty much covered, thick custard-like, all the hairs, all the knots to the hairs rather, not all the hairs, so don't do that. And then I fold it over with a piece of foil and I kind of secure it a little bit at the ends just to keep that heat processing in there so that it makes the period of time a little bit shorter. You don't have to use foil. Some people use grocery bags or saran wrap or whatever they want to use to cover it. I use foil. Ends up looking like this. And I'll let it sit there for about 30 minutes. Hold on, let me prop this back up. Okay, so I'm gonna move that to the side. I'm gonna move on to this next unit. This one is a straight unit. We're doing the same bleaching process of the knots on it to customize it. Excuse my pajamas. These are my favorites, clearly. I promise they have been washed. But this is another unit. This is just going to be additional. Like I said, we're going to be adding it on. It's probably going to be a little bit more convenient for me to do it this way. If you do turn the lace towards you, make sure you do know that you need to know where the hairline stops, like this. Like my hand is behind it, you can see where it stops because you don't want to just start painting the whole lace with bleach. You don't want to do that because it's easier to make a mistake and have the bleach leak through to the rest of the wig, and you don't want that. Okay, so moved all the hair out the way. Picking up a little chunk. I'm going to start over here. I already eyeballed where the lace is versus where just all this extra lace is, where the actual knots is. I mean, versus where this extra lace is in the front. You don't have to put bleach all over that. It's a waste of your bleach, so don't even worry about that part because ultimately that's the part that's going to be cut off. So you don't even have to worry about doing nothing to it. Like I said, I'm grabbing some globs of it pretty much, painting over the lace area very thinly and lightly. You do not want to press. I'm going to keep telling you, because if you press, it will leak through. So I'm going to put this one on. It doesn't take very long to get the bleach on. And then you sit it, wrap it up, let it sit for about 30 minutes on this one also. When I move fast, I pretty much time them all on the same timer. So I don't run around with 3-4 different timers just because I'm taking care of 3 or 4 different laces. I pretty much do them all at the same time, but that's because at this point I move pretty quickly. If you are in the beginning stages and you take a little bit longer doing this process, then you'll want to probably set individual timers on your cell phone so that you don't get mixed up with how long each unit has been processing. So now that one is done also. Paint it over. I'm gonna go ahead and secure it closed into my foil. I didn't feel like bringing my tripod in here because I was trying to do this real quick, but I probably should have, so just stop falling everywhere. So now I'm gonna just secure this into some foil and let that process for about 30 minutes as well. Also, a little tip, since I do use pretty much one timer for all of them, even though they're getting completed at one time, what I do for that is I just rinse them off in the order that I first started processing them. That way they all relatively get about the same amount of processing time. I have one more that I'm doing. I made just enough. You don't want to make too much bleach. The bleach and products are not that cheap when you buy them regularly. It seems pretty cheap when you're doing it once or twice, but then as you buy them more and more, you start realizing that big tub of powder is expensive. So you want to try to preserve what you can. If you have any left over, I urge you to try not to throw it away. Look for any other pieces that you need to use any kind of bleaching or processing on, and go ahead and get those out of the way, even if it's not time for using the piece of hair or the lace or the closure or the wig. Even if it's not time, before you throw your bleach away, go ahead and use it on something else so that you don't go ahead and waste your product, because every container is like $30 and every bottle is about, well, that's cheap, it's probably about $3 or $4, but still, don't just wash it down the drain. If you have too much, try to find something else that you're able to use it on so that you're not constantly just disposing of good product, because you have to rebuy it every time you do this. So try to keep as much as you can. So with this one, I'm pretty much done as well. It was a quick paint over it very lightly. Again, here is just some loose strands that you may find sometimes inside of laces from either being handmade or manufactured with the sewing machine. It's okay, pull that out. It won't do anything to your lace. This one is also complete. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty much the same. And the gist of the last ones, everything's the same thing. I'm gonna just fold that in, secure that at the side, and let that start processing too. So what I do now is I check my time. Right now I have it at 9:30. So I'm going to come back and check all of this at 9:50, only because that first one has been processing for about 10 minutes already. So I want to make sure I take care of it and come back to that. So this is how I have them looking when it comes to just being processed. And so now we will wait. I'll be back to show you the rest. So now we have the finished results of the bleach knots. They are not black anymore. It's gonna look like this lace is coming from the scalp. So that's one of the ways. So this is how it looks after it's bleached. You can see very custom, no knots shown. So that's gonna look real good on the hairline. Yeah. Same thing for the straight. Came out very, very well. You see no knots for an install. That's gonna look real nice against the scalp. It will look like it's coming from your scalp.